Welcome to my YouTube channel, Dennis the Monk. I'm Dennis Vishakovsky, and the topic for today is a discerning heart taking risks. Lots of information, short amount of time. And throughout this YouTube presentation and all the ones I do, I will always be referring back to previous episodes because each episode that I have builds on the other. So I'm going to recap a little bit what's important about a discerning heart. Moving into having a discerning heart requires us to be mindful of what's going on up here in our minds. Remember, the mind is a place of the ego. It tells us we're better than or less than. However, humility has the ability to balance out the ego, our mind. And the way it does is because humility is being honest with self, others, and a higher power, which I choose to call God. When we come into a place of being humble, being honest with ourselves, others, and a higher power, we then have the ability, because it takes discipline to do that, we have the ability to move into our hearts in making decisions. Now, the heart is a place of objective truth and objective love. What do I mean by that? What I mean objective truth is there's logic and reason. It dates back thousands of years to Maimonides, Aristotle, square of opposition, but it's a progressional process of using our understanding like a math equation to come to understand what is truth. Now, what is objective love? I take objective love from the 15 attributes of 1 Corinthians 13. Just because it's the Christian Bible doesn't mean that there's not really good resources in it. In fact, I find all the resources within the Christian Bible, within the Bible itself, 100% powerful and accurate, particularly in the New Testament. So, objective love, those 15 attributes, when we begin to understand what those attributes are, we apply them to ourselves. Those attributes are not meant for us to use as a measuring stick to judge others. It's used as a measuring stick to understand where we are. Basically, where we are, what's happening in our lives, and understanding, am I being patient? Am I being kind? Am I holding on to wrongs? Do I have regrets? It just goes on. So if you look at those 15 attributes, they become an asset to enable us then to go into what I call discernment. Now, discernment, that title is as ancient as religions. I know in my Carmelite tradition, discernment was a word that meant we are moving into a place of objective truth and objective love. I just happen to coin those words, but that's what we're doing. And then uniting ourselves with a higher power, a source outside of ourselves, I choose to call God. Applying the universal principles that govern everything from business to whatever it is. And that objective reality, or that part of objective love is, or the universal principles, one of them would be, some call it laws of attraction, the rule of reciprocity, giving and receiving, not giving and taking, or someone taking, giving, but giving and receiving. Those universal principles are guiding forces to enable us to cut through whenever the mind interferes and tells us that we're better than the less than. Now remember, we're trying to balance it off with humility to move into the heart, the place of objective love and objective truth, in order to assess something to understand if it's a good assessment. Some people would call it a judgment. I say good assessment. If I want to do something, if I want to create a business, if I want to begin a new relationship, there's a process that I go through to understand objectively, is it something that is going to be mutually beneficial? Also, objectively, I talk about objective love, objective truth, how we use objectivity in our decision making, objective love, objective truth, that type of objectivity, it enables us to cut through, like parting the Red Sea, to cut through the maze of emotional societal dictates that tell us what we should do. I am a person that's dedicated to diversity, equal rights for men, women, and color, regardless of color of creed. How can that happen? How can I be that way? It's my intention for that equality to be present in all the lives that I touch and interact with. Now, if I understand that there's a universal principle about how to treat people, I apply that to what am I trying to assess and is it universal? As soon as I get away from those elements that are universal principles, I am moving further and further into my emotions. My emotions are extremely powerful, and my emotions are often dictated by my mind that says I'm better than or less than. Here's an example. I have a dear friend. She lives in Europe, and she struggles with taking care of everyone else. She has a business, she has a family owned business, there's many things that she does. Now, she's a beautiful soul. She's always giving. But the challenge for her is that there are those societal dictates, generational dictates that have been handed down to her through her family and through her community that says, this is the way you're supposed to do things. However, when we allow ourselves to be governed by someone else's reality or someone else's perceived truth, and not looking into ourselves and understanding ourselves and what is my truth, and it's not relative, it's based on objective love, objective truth, I will be guided into a path that leads me away from me, away from who I am, away from what my capacity is, away from what my abilities are. It moves me away from my ability to be creative relative to what my gifts are. I could be a plumber, and the ability to solve problems in being creative as a plumber, an architect, a doctor. It doesn't matter what your lifestyle is or what your business is or your skill sets. It's all universal, and that's the power of it. So my dear friend who is now trying to break away from those societal dictates also is trying to break away from the lies that people have told her about her and the lies that she started to believe, that she started to tell about herself, and it is painful. It creates emotional pain to break away from what other people want me to do. In this case, what they want her to do because her father did it, and her parents did it, and her grandparents did it. Well, success will not come to us when we are following the dictates of other people's ideas and concepts and constructs. What is success? Success is when I'm happy doing what I do that has the ability to sustain myself. Now, I'll tell you a little story about myself, brief. It was only when I was head of my monastery, I brought my monastery from a donation-based business model to self-sustaining business model, and created numerous businesses to help my community and help the poor and marginalized. I was successful, sold a wind project, created an anti-aging skin cream, sold it internationally. So actually my technology was stolen. That's how good it was. However, it was only within the past 4 years that I realized and took the time to understand, wait a minute, I'm successful. I had so many struggles in that journey. And for me, I got stuck with thinking that if everything was about the destination and not the journey, that I didn't have the ability to enjoy the process. I didn't have the opportunity, or I didn't allow myself to be in the moment and allow everything and know that everything is provided for me in that moment. So I was frightened all the time. I was anxious. I was getting sick because of the fear and the anxiety and the worry. However, when I started to pull away from that, when I started to think outside the box that religion and dictates created for me, I started to recover or started to heal from all that suppression, societal, religious, etc., suppression, so that I could be free to see what I have inside of myself, to recognize my abilities, and then to move with intention towards something that I am passionate about and of which I have a skill set that could take me to a place where I can be creative have a sense of fulfillment, and make a living. All of us have that ability inside of us. But when we compare ourselves to other people and how things should be and not the way they are, it's going to be a constant fight between our mind, our heart, and the whole world around us. You have the power to change that. Where does hope come from? Hope can only come to us when we break away from those dictates, because it is literally those dictates, those influences, family, religion, environment, culture, that tells us we have to do something a certain way in the box, that limits our ability to have hope. Because we're spiritual beings, our hope can't come from what other people tell us to do. Hope comes from when we go into our hearts. Hope comes from going inside of our hearts, understanding what truth is, what love is, and then moving towards it while recognizing our abilities and our capacity to do something that has also a return in taking care of ourselves and the ones we love. Thank you for joining me. I challenge you to see what are the dictates that surround you. What are the judgments that you condemn yourselves to? What is society telling you, depending on where you're from in the world, could be telling you something different that's taking you away from who you are. It's actually who you are that has the ability to provide for you and your loved ones. I'm Dennis Vyzhakovsky, my YouTube channel, Dennis the Monk. Please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a wonderful day.